Today, the fourth Sunday of Lent, we come to the church Santa Croce in Jerusalem. Combining the piety of the Blessed Virgin with the feminine strength of Cleopatra, the Empress Helena is one of the most interesting figures from late antiquity. Born in Dalmatia in the mid-3rd century, she married an officer in the Roman army and bore him a son, who would one day become the Emperor Constantine. When her husband acquired more power, he divorced her to marry on a higher social level, a common occurrence at the time, and one she bore gracefully. However, when her son became the undisputed leader of the Roman Empire in 312, she was given the title Augusta, and held a role similar to that of a queen mother. Connected to her title, she was given the Censorium Palace, originally built under Commodus and Septimus Severus in the late 2nd century. The modified Great Hall of this palace now forms the central part of the present basilica. When Helena returned from her trip to the Holy Land in 325, she brought back relics from the life of our Lord for veneration in the west. These were later placed in a chapel behind the apse of the basilica, which had recently been adapted for Christian worship. The basilica officially remained state property until at least the year 500, although worship and other ecclesiastical events took place in it during that time. A renovation took place in the early 8th century, being followed by a more complete one in the mid-12th century. In the late 15th century, a restoration was carried out, including the creation of the apse fresco. The current facade and narthex of the basilica date from 1733 to 34, having been commissioned by Pope Benedict XIV. He also made some changes to the interior, among other things rebuilding the roof and ceiling, which still bears his name, and erecting a new ciborium above the main altar. The sacred relics of the Passion are currently kept in a chapel above their previous home, opened in 1930 and finished in 1952. Some points of interest include the Chapel of the Relics. These well-documented relics of Christ's Passion were brought from the Holy Land by Saint Helena, the mother of Constantine. They include pieces of the cross, one of the nails, the inscription plate on the cross, a joint of St. Thomas's finger, a piece of the cross of the good leaf, and 2 thorns from Christ's crown. There's also the Shroud of Turin reproduction. This replica shows the remarkable consistency of the Gospel Passion narratives, the testimony of faith, and even the archaeological witness of the relics. So too there's the Chapel of St. Helena. This lower crypt is dedicated to Constantine's saintly mother. Her faith was perhaps the reason he recognized the apparition of the cross at the Milvian Bridge as a sign of the Christians. After she was commissioned to discover and preserve the Christian sacred sites in the Holy Land, she returned to Rome, where her house was transformed into this chapel. On the floor, a glass plate covers a dirt floor made of the earth brought from Calvary. And finally, we see the tomb of Venerable Antonietta Mayo. This young venerable died of bone cancer at the age of 6, but left a collection of letters to God that reveal an extraordinary faith and a supernatural courage towards her sufferings.